This is The Point, news from Noise, daily market call presented by Kattan Ferretti Financial. I'm your CEO, Brad Roth, and I look forward to having a daily discussion with you over the topics that we present in this note every single morning. So without further ado, The Point.
Good morning, Cameron. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Oh, never better. I was thinking about you. I don't know if it was last night or this morning, but I saw our friends at Duolingo, which is actually a Pittsburgh company, just introduced, and if any of you don't know, it's the free competitor to Rosetta Stone, but they introduced a Japanese into their learning module, so I figured maybe we put that on your list and you could do a little Japanese version of the note one day. What do you think?
Oh, gee, I might need a few years.
All right, we'll give you some time. All right, fire away with the news, buddy.
Okay. Crude oil continued lower yesterday after decline in U.S. stockpiles wasn't enough for American supplies to move below their seasonal average and as production keeps rising. It's been a busy week for Fed speakers, and today sees Governor Jerome Powell, St. Louis Fed President James Bullard, and Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester all due to speak at events. Focus will be on any comments concerning lower inflation and how that may marginally impact Fed interest rate policies. The Fed also releases results of Part 1 of its annual bank stress tests after the close of U.S. markets. Sales of existing homes totaled 5.62 million yesterday, slightly better than economists had expected. At 8:30 a.m., initial jobless claims and home price data will be reported, and tomorrow will bring us data on new home sales. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos blew up Twitter with his request for areas of philanthropy where he could be of assistance. He said that unlike his business philosophy of always working on the long term, he wants to know what can be done right now in philanthropy. America may lead the world when it comes to access to higher education, but on health, environmental protection, and fighting discrimination, it trails many other developed countries according to the Social Progress Imperative, which is a U.S.-based nonprofit. Outside the United States, energy companies led the Stoxx Europe 600 index lower after crude dropped further into a bear market yesterday. Financial and telecom stocks were also lower, and the healthcare sector, however, was up, and tech stocks slightly higher. Eurozone consumer confidence will be reported at 10 a.m., and while the first round of Brexit talks in Brussels seem to have both sides agreeing on a softer approach, all of Europe is nervous to hear what Theresa May has to say during her first European Union speech since her last election tonight. The Japanese yen continued on its longest winning streak since May, which hurts exports, sending Japanese stocks lower. Technology companies gave a lift to Asian markets, and Tesla has signed a preliminary agreement with the city of Shanghai to explore production in China. Rising on a plane south of Beijing, the world's largest airport, opening in 2019, is said to be an absolute game changer for China's major airlines. Australia's S&P ASX 200 index jumped 0.7% after tumbling 1.6% on Wednesday to erase its gain for the year. And lastly, Mexico's central bank will probably raise its key rate for its seventh straight meeting, as inflation has more than doubled in the last year. Now, Bobby, I've been hanging out with you in the office a lot, and you're pretty upset about this whole Uber thing, huh?
Yeah, man, I'm going to take the bait. First, we're going to talk about what's not noise, because it's the whole point of this podcast. And I actually think there's a lot to be learned from this, from Uber's CEO resigning or being forced out. But first, let's look at the investment process in the markets. Let's rinse repeat for a second. What does the market care about? The market cares about GDP that's coming out next week to give us an idea of another data point on growth accelerating in the United States. They care about earnings. It'll start, when does Alcoa report? June or July 19th or something, I think it was, right? So mid-July, they care about company earnings. They care about inflation in crude oil right now, right? So it's massive deflation in crude oil, but they care about how that's affecting inflation, and more specifically, what direction are wages going? Are they going to grow fast enough to support the consumer and support consumer spending? It'll be interesting to see, as we just got out of the best earnings season in 6 years that were reported for the first quarter of the year. Will company earnings, if they continue to accelerate, lead to higher pay? If they do, that's a great sign for the economy. You're going to start to see inflation and wage growth. You'll still see deflation like we're seeing right now in oil and many commodities, which is the absolute, what do they call it, silver bullet or golden gun, it's a good thing, right? That means that growth is definitely going to continue to accelerate, and that these tech stocks, their valuation will become more realistic because their earnings will keep accelerating, right? And that'll feed into the rest of the economy if we can see wages higher. With regards to Uber, I think it's going to go down in 20 years, 30 years. Is a very similar situation to when Steve Jobs was ousted from Apple. You have a guy that's completely reinvented the transportation industry. I mean, completely reinvented it. On the same magnitude as Steve Jobs reinventing the personal computer. You have significant cultural problems at Uber, but that entire board should have been ousted and replaced. The real problem lies in the board members and especially in the early investors. I'm a big Tim Ferriss fan, but he was an early investor in Uber. His cohort of people allowed that culture to develop. There's a whole lot of reports in Pittsburgh about, obviously Uber's presence in Pittsburgh is, significant, right? Testing their cars here, building their cars here, picking off everybody at Carnegie Mellon, and bringing the best technology minds together to code this thing. And he made promises, Travis did, the CEO of Uber, to the mayor that he couldn't come through on. Why was he ever meeting with the mayor? Why was he the one meeting with the mayor? That's not his job. That guy's job is to develop. Early investors, board members should have realized that. They should have insulated him with a better team. Arianna Huffington was the only female board member. I blame her as well because she shouldn't have joined the board unless she brought another woman or two with her. She was in a position there to actually to force another woman in. Instead, they have this whoever the 70-year-old guy was in their meetings making sexist jokes. He's a billionaire board investor making sexist jokes. Like, who is this guy? Like, what? He should be like setting pins at a bowling alley. I don't know how this guy became a billionaire and at 70 years old hasn't learned how to act like a human being. But you can't take a guy that's a pure genius and not surround him with the team that he needs to be surrounded by. You can't come in with billions and billions and billions of big investment dollars and not know how to support the guy that you're, putting at the forefront of it and surround him with the best minds. The way that, certainly, Sheryl Sandberg has done everything for Facebook, right? She's the perfect, she's been there for 9 years, second in command of all of Facebook, and she's the one that allowed Mark Zuckerberg to grow up, right? Investors put someone like her around them. Where were these people to insulate their billions and billions of dollars in investment? And we'll save my disdain for how the media has reported this for another day. But think about who you surround yourself with, and there's a lot to be learned out of that. So, what do you got in the sports world here? It's Fleury's in Vegas, eh?
Yeah, Fleury's official. Viva Las Vegas for him.
Boy.
He's gone. Expansion draft last night. They did okay, I thought. Picked up some solid defensemen. Fleury, obviously, veteran goaltender, has a championship, has 3 actually. So offense isn't bad, but a lot of draft picks, a lot of young guys. So maybe in 5 years or so, look out for Las Vegas.
That's a good reason for maybe us to have a team trip to Vegas, right?
That sounds good to me.
I love Vegas.
Oh, it's the best.
I do, because I'm not really taken in by most of the absurd antics of Vegas. It's more like a sociological study, but yeah, there we go. So, all right, guys, we'll see you back tomorrow.